Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for March 23rd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Lita. How you doing, Lita?
I'm great. We're back. We're in the Great White North. We're here with the resident showmance liker, me, for a perfect day for me to make my grand return to the live feed updates.
Yes, we are here to talk about everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother Canada 10 live feeds. It was day 25 in the house. And are you saying that you're a big what do they call them? How do you do Jason Gino together?
It was like
Jacino, I guess is what they call him.
there is a word for it. I don't know. I'm not
you
saying
can
I.
you can
What?
tell how popular the Showmances is, given the fact that I don't know their shift name.
I was about to say, like, I saw a lot of Sino tweets and J-Lino, maybe they call her JL.
So it's something like that. I genuinely see the summer one a lot more.
Yeah, that one is Sino. Just because I am a showmance liker doesn't mean I like every showmance. To be clear,
There you go. So
I'm
which one
not
do you
the.
like?
I prefer Sino, but I just like all the drama of it.
Mm.
And I feel like that's not popular among the super fans of the show. I feel like such a casual whenever I'm like, ooh, they're kissing.
you're Tanisha on the show saying every season needs a showmance.
Yeah, and everybody loves it and everybody agrees with me.
Yeah, of course. We are here to talk about everything that happened yesterday. As I said, it was day 25 in the house, and it's again the week is pretty straightforward with Kyle on his way out. There's going to be a lot of campaigning from Kyle and from Jess. From Kyle, it's mostly people just being like, "All right, I guess I'll talk to Kyle. Okay, all right, let's do this." And with Jess, it's like, no, seriously, we don't even need to talk. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Nobody wants to talk to either of them. It's for different reasons,
Yeah.
but every time one of them tries to initiate a conversation, people are like, "It's morning. Can we wake up?"
Pretty much. We do get a little bit of clarification of where people are starting to gravitate toward, where they're standing, and where things might go into the next week, as people start to finally do some active work on rebuilding. With Kyle on his way out, things can start to rebuild a little bit, and so Herman is going to be getting to work quite a bit in the morning here. He's going to make some rounds. He talks to Summer, and he asks, like, "Hey, are we good?" And she's like, "Yeah, as long as you're not scheming. Like, we're good for now." We've got an expiration date, though. He's like, "Why do you say that? You're supposed to make people feel comfortable, Summer." She's like, I'm protecting my heart."
Yeah, I mean, he's like, "I'm not going to turn on you," and she's like, "Of course you are. It's Big Brother. Just like, can you like be upfront with me about it before you do?"
Yeah, she's like, "I see you, smooth talker. Let's be
And
real."
like with how many conversations he's going to have today, like this is an apropos time for Summer to point that out.
She says she's good with him, Tanisha, Josh, Betty. And she also says she wants to keep the showmance around for a while, though she'd keep Gino over Jace. Herman is like, yeah. I mean, I think I would agree. But he does feel like, they have to look at them eventually. Summer says something that Herman is not a fan of, that he said this before. And so she kind of implies, she says her goal is always to win in these competitions, but she's sticking to her strategy and keeping her cards close. Kind of the implication here is that, like, she might not be trying super hard to win, which is not something you should tell Herman, because Herman is, again, very much this player that, like, wants to build a big alliance, have them win all the competitions, and he wants all of his allies to be winning competitions all the time. And so He's going to tell Tanisha later. He's like, it's frustrating when Summer seems like she doesn't want to win. She needs to stop throwing comps.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, like, I think for Summer to say, like, I would rather keep Gino over Jace, like, that's going to be amenable to Herman because, like, he needs people to actually win.
Mm.
But I think Summer's going to turn it on soon. I mean, she hasn't needed to, but
Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't need to win, it's Summer, but I always feel like, especially if you're good at the game, winning is always going to be a good thing. So, I think if she did win, she'd be perfectly fine. She'd be able to build something good. Herman is really wanting to, again, he wants to rebuild. He wants to, get some kind of alliance back together. And so he said he always thought about, they always talked about the 5 within the 7, that was like himself, Josh, Summer, Tanisha, and Moose. And maybe they can work on rebuilding that. Maybe they can have that 5 now. And she's like, yeah, sure.
yeah, rebuilding is a good word for the day because it's in this weird, like, middle space tonally where there's like some peace as Kyle comes to accept his fate. But there's still like a lot of tension. There's like interpersonal drama, there's like game tension, things are coming out. And then there's also like the slop element of it where they're just like
Mhm.
happy to have dinner. So it's this weird middle space in terms of like between harmony and like tension. There's no big blow ups, but it's like, well, not huge blow ups, but they're not like, kumbaya.
Harmony and Ruin. That's a Sanderson reference. So she's gonna tell him. So her conversation with Kyle the day before, and of course, in case you need this to be reset, that of course Kyle has been backdoored by Gino. He's up on the block next to Jess. That's why the two of them are campaigning throughout the day. And we're gonna skip most of that campaigning because again, it's all pretty pointless. But Kyle had campaigned to Summer the night before, and in that conversation, he threw Kevin under the bus a little bit. Summer had a conversation with Kevin last night that we talked about, where she was like, "I don't really care about what the things that he said," and Kevin was like, "Yeah, man, I did say those things, but of course I didn't mean them." And Summer says to Herman, like, "Yeah, Kevin was saying some things about me, and he admitted it, and I'm kind of annoyed. Like, he should have told me ahead of time." Before it came out through Kyle. And Herman's like, that's why I've always been bugged about Kevin. And I think I think some of it is genuine annoyance here. Obviously, Summer and Kevin have been intentionally playing up a rift between the two of them because because Kevin is Kevin and Summer is Summer, and it's something that they would both enjoy. But I do think there's an undercurrent of like a little bit of something genuine here in terms of like she probably does wish that she had known about this, and she probably feels a little bit like, oh, how much is Kevin saying?
Yeah, and it's also always a weird position when you have like a fake feud with somebody because it sort of gives them carte blanche to say whatever they want and then just be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, but it was all part of the ruse." So at a certain point it always becomes somewhat distrustful.
Yeah, yeah. So Herman is also going to go and talk with Tanisha, and Herman says that like I want to build some numbers again. I want to do this, and he specifically mentions like he wants to do Tanisha, Summer, himself, Josh, and Moose. Get that 5 in place, and Tanisha says, I think we need to keep Moose at arm's length. He mentioned our names. I would rather work with people. Maybe this is just me. I'd rather work with people who have not mentioned my name.
Hot take.
And yeah. He says, well, we could just stick with Josh then. We could just do a 4 with Josh. But I want to lock it in this week. I want to make something happen. And he also talks about the throwing comps thing. But this is again, Herman is trying to get in here. He's trying to do some work. I think this is the right play by him going to Summer and Tanisha. They are in a very good spot right now. And if he can swing something with them, he could probably be in a good spot. His blind spot here is Josh. He does not Josh is not the biggest fan of Herman, does not trust Herman, and quite frankly, Moose would be the better option, even though Moose did throw out their name in the past. Moose doesn't really have other options at this point, and so if he was able to get Moose involved, I think that would work. In fact, just this morning, I wasn't able to listen to all of it, but Herman was talking to Moose, and I think giving him pointers for how to get back in with Tanisha and Summer. So I think that if that is his intention, I think that's good. But I think he's also talking. He might be talking to Josh right now, actually, and potentially giving Josh too much information, or he might be swinging Josh to his side. So it's kind of a risky play. I don't know if he knows how risky it is, but we'll see how it goes as he works on Josh. But this is why we have faith in Herman as a player. He's getting in there, he's doing the work, and he's trying to make something happen here before next week, where he has been one of the bigger targets listed on the board. And if he can lock something down, then he could get back into a good place.
If he can lock something down without too many people talking to each other.
Yeah. It's a tricky spot. Kyle really did a number on him. It's but you know what? They don't call him.
I'm not called Stir the Pot Poppy for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like that.
Yeah. How do you like this one?
I'm a bad boy.
God. Why do you have these?
The better question is, why wouldn't I have these?
Such a pattern.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So Herman's also going to go to Helena, and they touch base. He wants to touch base with her. And so obviously Helena is very much not a big fan of Herman. She does say, "Look, I have heard some things. I'm not going to lie. I've said that you want to put me up, or that you want to put me up. I've heard that that I'm your target." And she's like, "Oh, of course, I don't believe it. Like, I'm coming from Kyle, like, I'm sure it's all fake. I don't trust it for a second." He's like, "Oh, it's absolutely rubbish. It's bogus." He says, "I've got much bigger targets than you. There are people who have said my name, who have admitted that they said my name, implying that his target would be Moose." And this is one of those conversations where I think they both see that the other one. Actually, I don't know how much Herman sees that Helena is lying to him in this conversation. I think he probably feels like he's getting through this, but I don't think Helena is really buying what Herman is putting down. She hasn't been for a while. And Helena, another one that Herman really needs to watch out for as the game moves forward.
Yeah, Helena also notably absent for the rest of the day. I feel like she was not involved in most of the other conversations that were happening.
Yes, she did. She did kind of take a little bit of a day off here for the most part. Herman is also going to talk to Kyle, and really the most notable thing here is that Kyle said, "I did watch Frenchie's HOA train, and I never thought I would be Frenchie, but I was the Frenchie. The same thing happened to me. I got lost in the sauce."
Can I give Kyle a little credit for like his self-awareness today? I mean, or yesterday, whatever we're talking about, whatever day it is. He is saying, like, I messed up, and not just on a game level. Like, he's not just saying that he like had a Frenchie like HOH strategically. He's also saying like a side of myself came out that is bad and I didn't like it. And I think we'll see how he behaves in exit interviews and sort of like after the game to see, how much that self-reflection really takes outside of the game or how much it's just like feeling defeated right now. But it's much better to see than a Frenchie on his last day.
Yeah, well, he did do something bad last week.
Kyle pooped on everyone.
It's not good. So yeah, he's. I mean, I think the thing for me is that like when Gino won, he kind of did go back into like self-justification from the previous week, and it wasn't until he was back on the block that now he's like, okay, now I did really mess up.
Yeah, he's certainly not like the king of being humble, but I do think like he was not super irritating yesterday. He could have been a lot worse.
Yes, he has very much been like, look, and you know, he's still annoying people with his campaign, but he has been saying like, look, if I don't have the votes, then I'll stop. Like, I get it, you know, I realize that I'm going to be voted out probably, and that I had a disastrous HOA train, and I'd rather like get back to the Kyle that I feel like I am, rather than the person that I think I turned into. So we will see what direction we have for Kyle Moore in the future. When he talks to Betty, and again, it's like Betty was like, do I have to talk to him now? It's what is he gonna say? He's gonna go through the whole week again? Yep. Good luck, Betty. She's like, oh. She's like, look, I don't want to rehash the whole week, Kyle. I really, let me just tell you, I'm voting you out.
Yeah.
So we don't need to do this.
Good for Betty here.
Yeah.
She also has a really funny moment where after he leaves, they have this whole conversation, and then after he leaves, she goes, "That was so weird." Like, just to the feeds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Betty for you. She's gonna be like everyone she talks to afterward is like, you know what? Good for you, Betty.
Yeah.
Good for you telling him you're voting him out.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of like most of the conversation concerning Kyle is like, am I going to tell him now or am I going to tell him later?
Yeah. I mean, that's business B for you.
Business B, let's get it.
Voting you out. New room has opened up. It's a beach room, a vacation room.
This is your nightmare room. The floor is made of sand.
Sand is annoying. I don't know why you would want sand in a house.
The house is where sand ends up after you go to the beach. It's the whole bad part about sand.
Exactly. And also, there's no sun to warm the sand. So this is like lukewarm sand at best.
Yeah, nothing worse than lukewarm sand. Terrible. Thanks, Expedia.
So, you know, this is something they've done before in the house. They just opened up a new room, you know, a few weeks in.
Sure.
You know, whatever.
Did they open the ball pit room late?
I think they did open it a couple of weeks in. Yeah, I think so.
I take indoor ball pit over indoor sand.
Oh, of course.
Any day.
So if a couple of balls get out of the room, it's very easy to clean up.
Oh, that's ew. Yeah, the whole house is gonna be gross.
Yeah. If you start tracking sand all over the house, it's like, oh God. This is worse than Kyle. So they also, while we're at this sort of thing, they're also going to get food later, as we kind of implied that you've completed all your tasks. You get some food. So then they ate. It's going to be a whole big segment, I'm sure, on the tasks and the food.
It was somebody saw like where it was takeout from. Maybe we'll get an ad spot for the whatever Italian kitchen in Canada.
Oh, maybe. Kevin's going to talk with Jess. Jess is going to do again. Jess has been doing some campaign conversations throughout the day. Most of them are, as I said, just, you know, you're good, you're fine, don't worry about it. But the conversation with Kevin is a little more interesting because they are kind of under the radar working together. At least Jess feels as though that's the case. They agree that there had been the theory that maybe there was some sort of like cookout structured alliance happening where there were secretly people working together and they had parachute alliances. But they agree at this point. Jess says, I don't think there's anything being executed with the classic parachute strategy in this house. And they are correct. They do, though, agree that Gino is dangerous in the game. And they also think that Tanisha is super dangerous in the game. They are still under the mistaken assumption that Tanisha is like a mastermind. In
I
fact,
mean, to be fair, you don't have to be a mastermind to be dangerous.
that's
Big
true,
Brother.
but they do think that she's a mastermind. Kevin says, I feel very close to Summer, but I don't think Tanisha trusts me at all. I think Summer sees Tanisha as her number one, but Tanisha is a player. But as I've said, my reads are terrible. And to that, I say, yes, Kevin, that read is terrible.
Yeah. I do think that Tanisha can be threatening in her own way. It's just not for this reason.
Yes, they, for whatever reason, like they have basically the complete opposite reads. Like everybody does between Summer and Tanisha, where like everyone sees Tanisha as like the game player who's more connected, more dangerous, more strategic, and Summer is just kind of like chilling, having fun, being cool, and super trust Tanisha, even though Tanisha's a strategic player. It's the like almost complete opposite. Like not that Summer's not being cool, but like that Summer is the strategic player who is much more dangerous.
Yeah, who's facilitated that? Is it just like this is just something that kind of came about, or have Summer and Tanisha tried to sort of, cultivate that?
It just naturally developed that people saw Tanisha as the more dangerous player. It stemmed from like back at least when Marty was HOH. I mean, that was the first week of feeds. But I think it comes from one, Summer is that good, and two, Tanisha. The fact like Tanisha seeming dangerous comes from the fact that she's not dangerous in the sense that she doesn't talk a lot of game with people. And so when she doesn't talk game with you, you feel like, well, she's really well connected. I see her talking with people all the time. She's not talking game with me. She must be doing some game with other people. That right. Is, and you see her talking with people. And she's a very social person. She talks with Herman a lot. She talks with Moose a lot. And in reality, she doesn't trust Moose, and she doesn't fully trust Herman either. But she talks with them a lot. And so people assume that they're super close. And it's not even that much the case. But
yeah, and it can become an echo chamber where you're just like, well, everybody says that Tanisha is strategic, so she must be being strategic with other people. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. It definitely gets reinforced as each person is like, what do you think? You think Tanisha's dangerous? Yes, I do too. Jess thinks that Herman should be on shakier ground than he actually is. Somehow he's managed to get himself onto firmer ground. Jess, obviously, somebody that is not the biggest Herman fan either. They feel like Moose is on shaky ground, but it should be Herman that's on that shaky ground. They realize like I think nobody cares if either one of us goes home. Jess says, like when Gino was asking the questions when he was HOH and he was asking like, who do you not want to see go home this week? They're like, I know for sure that nobody said either of our names. And Kevin was like, yes, definitely.
I mean, not a terrible read from Jess.
Jess has some very good reads in this conversation overall, apart from the Tanisha thing, which was more of a Kevin read, but Jess did agree with it. Jess says that Betty is pretty well insulated in with Summer and Tanisha as well, and that she's very reactive, and she's not sure if she feels like she can play with Betty. And they also think that Josh values them, but they think he values others more, which is, again, a good read on Josh. As he obviously was looking at keeping Marty over Jess before the veto happened, even after Jess was such a staunch supporter of Josh in the vote in the previous week. But they are recognizing that fact. It's like they're able to recognize like I'm trying with people, but I just don't think people care about me in this game, which is unfortunately true for Jess.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of annoying to other people, so I get it. I mean, it's easy to tell when, like, I don't know, to their credit, like they are recognizing it, and like they have a moment where, like, I think it was actually this morning where they like try to talk game, and I don't even remember who they're talking to, but they're like, I don't really want to talk about this right now, and they try anyway, but then immediately after they're like, he set a boundary and I like still did it, like that sucked, I shouldn't have done that. So it's like it's easy for people to just like not recognize that and think like, oh, everybody just hates me for no reason. So like, at least they're like somewhat self-aware about it, but they're a little overzealous with like initiating these conversations.
Yeah, there was definitely this morning, the morning of day 26. Jess was definitely trying to do a bit too much in the early morning, talking about Marty and stuff. We'll get to that probably tomorrow. But Jess does say that they would probably be looking at Herman and Moose as potential nominees / targets if they were to win, because both of them have thrown their name out in the past, and they feel like people would understand. I imagine that Herman would be the intended target there, and that Herman would probably, at least as things stand right now, Herman would probably leave. But I wouldn't underestimate Herman's ability to get just the couple of votes that he might need to stick around over Moose if he was up on the block next to him. So we might see. We'll see. Maybe Jess.
Yeah, but I think Jess and Moose just like have a good rapport.
Yeah,
and I don't see them targeting it, like making Moose the target.
Right. And they might also recognize, like, if I put Moose on the block, because they were saying Moose is on shakier ground than Herman. So they probably recognize that if they put Moose on the block next to Herman, that Herman might stay. And that's definitely not what they'd be looking for, I think. So they'd probably realize, quite frankly, it would probably be Herman and T, which would be a much easier place to work, to start from, to get Herman out. So Summer is going to talk with Marty. Marty, who started the week talking about, I'm gonna pretend like I'm not gonna be working with the guys anymore. We're gonna make these big speeches. It's gonna be so under the radar. He's gonna tell, I think, like the third person or so now. Hey, I'm secretly working on rebuilding my relationship with Gina. She's like, that's great for you, Marty.
Thanks, Dad.
She's so this is an interesting conversation, because this is something that Summer, Tanisha, and Betty had been talking about a little bit earlier in the day, and it's something that has been brought up a couple of times, kind of vaguely in the past. But she mentions that she had been frustrated with him in the past because he brought up. He asked her about her relationship with Tanisha and Betty, and she feels like there is an extra sort of like spotlight / magnifying glass on their relationship in particular, that she doesn't think that the three of them have been around each other alone for a substantial amount of time to warrant such scrutiny. And so she's trying to express this to Marty, and he's having difficulty understanding exactly what she's talking about. But this is something that has been brought up a couple of times, and she's trying to make this point, to try to get this point across to him.
Yeah, and this is something that stems from Kyle as well, is just like, oh, we're a trio because we're the three black girls.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be people who are like, why is she bringing race into it? And it's like, well, when people assume that you're in a relationship, or that you like have a game relationship with two other people for like seemingly no reason other than you're the only three people in the house that have this thing in common, like it's reasonable for her to raise an eyebrow about that. Like, I don't think she's accusing anybody of anything outright, but like it's understandable for her to be like, why do you just assume that we're a trio?
Yeah, and I think like from her perspective, it would also be like, why do you guys have to bring race into it? Like, why do you have to?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you have to assume that we're together all the time? Like it's like, it's not like she wants to this to be a thing, right?
And it's also just like with like, even if those three do talk to each other, like, I don't know, maybe more than they do other people, like Tanisha talks to everybody all the time, constantly. Like, you could put Tanisha in a trio with any two other people and be like, Tanisha talks to these two people a lot. So like, I totally get where Summer is coming from here.
Yeah, and she's not being like she's not like being like a hard line on this either. Like, she's being very kind about it. She's saying like, there's a difference between like game wrongs and personal wrongs, and she's like very understanding about like mistakes that might be made. But she just wants to express like how she's felt and why she has been frustrated in the past with the situation. I thought she was very good in this conversation.
Yeah, and just that like there's always this additional layer, but now with the cookout being the most recent season that people have watched, I mean, like I don't know if these people are like huge celeb fans, but assuming that the cookout is the most recent thing that they watched with the success of that, like it's understandable that the Black players in the house would feel like, oh, are people gonna like see us as an automatic threat as trying to duplicate the cookout?
Yeah. Well, Betty is going to talk with Jess just a little bit now. So, in part of Kyle's campaign has been that he is exposing that Marty was the one that convinced him to put Josh up in the first place, right? Now, Marty has already told Josh this. He's already been very open with this. But for some people, they're finding out about it for the first time. And so Betty and Jess are like, what? Can you believe that Marty is the one that got Josh up in the first place? Like, why is everyone just chill with that? I don't understand. And this is kind of a big deal because Betty's also going to talk with Tanisha and be like, Marty's a dangerous player. Like, he's the one that put the bug in Kyle's ear to get Josh up.
Tanisha's shocked.
Yeah, and Tanisha's like, I didn't believe him when he said that.
Yeah.
And Betty's like, yeah, but he got out ahead of it, and he told people ahead, like, and like Josh is chill with it. And Betty's like, that's dangerous. Like, if he made it to the end, I'd vote for him because he's an honest player. But like, I think I want him out. I think getting him out would be smart. Tanisha disagrees. She thinks keeping Marty would be a good idea. He's a big target. And they also agree he's not the kind of player you want to miss your shot on. And he wins vetoes, or at least he's won one veto and an HOH. And so, they're kind of going back and forth about that. They also had talked about Kyle's campaign. And Betty's like, he's just wasting my time talking to me. So I was just like, I'm voting for you. But the thing they agree on, because they kind of go back and forth, Betty saying maybe they should take out Marty, Tanisha feeling like maybe Gino should be the first person out. They talk about jury and who they might want in the jury. They both agree that the next 3 people to go out should be Marty, Gino, and Jace, in whatever order.
I love that for them and for me and for all of us.
There you go. I don't hate it for them either. I feel like it's not the worst. It's not the worst idea for them, as Gino and Jace are just never going to be on the same side as Betty and Tanisha. They've never connected. So then we get again. They get some food. There's a lot of horsing around. There's I've seen some comparisons lately between Herman and James Hewling. I've seen this comparison.
That's so rude to Herman.
Right? But he's doing a lot of like, he's scaring people and he's doing some like jokey stuff. I think he is a lot funnier than James Hewling.
But also with scaring people, the best moment of the night wasn't even him. Kevin scares Josh, and Josh, like, his whole chair falls backwards, and the gif is so funny. It's like the longest fall that I've ever seen. Yeah, everybody's being weird. Kyle like takes his shirt off while they're eating, and like, yeah, they're all just
roughhousing going on.
Yeah, they
dressed up a little
delirious.
bit. Yeah. Lots of goofing around.
Well, also about Herman, like, I feel like he's at least kind of doing it to an end. Like, he's not just like pulling pranks. He's just like, it is so tense and weird in here. We're about to get food. Everybody dress up. Everybody be nice. Like, he's trying to like break the tension.
Yes. To be clear, I disavow all connection between James Hewling and Herman. I've just like, not everyone that scares people in the house is James Hewling.
Yeah, they're bored. Okay.
But we do have a very interesting conversation between Kevin and Josh late into the night. I think it's one of the last ones I've got here. It is the last one I've got here. They're playing pool. A lot of other people have, kind of gone to bed a little bit here. Kevin says, Josh, what are we building an alliance? What are we doing? And Josh says, yes. And they both agree. Helena is a great ride or die, great person to grab into this new alliance that they want to build. Josh says, yeah, she's like a draft pick that everyone wants to pull in. So we need to act quickly. I'm working on it. They'd also love to get Betty, but they are concerned because she is close to Summer and Tanisha, and they're worried that she might go to them and tell them, something like that. Josh thinks that Summer and Tanisha are just kind of using Betty for like insurance, like backup. Like she's not actually in with the two of them. But she trusts them more than they sort of trust her in that regard, in the sense that like she's not as in with them as she might think. But they both like Betty a lot, and they would like to pull her in. The Betty Kevin storyline continues to be very, very. Kevin's like, I love Betty. Like she's amazing. I really would like to work with her.
Yeah, no, they were very cute yesterday.
Yes, they hugged a couple times. They're doing okay for now.
I do hate you.
So it's a fun dynamic.
Kevin says, so T, Herman, and Moose. It's a thing, right? Like that's been the rumor, right? The whole T is a mastermind stems from the idea that Tanisha, Herman, and Moose have been some kind of like secret trio. Josh is like, I don't think so. Like after the moose thing, when he went on the block, like I don't think it's a thing. Maybe it was a thing, but once Moose went on the block, like remember, like Moose was caught saying their names. Like I don't think they trust him as much anymore. I don't think it's as much of a thing. But I do agree, and Josh has been on this train that Herman probably needs to leave, and he's not always been the biggest Tanisha fan. He does think that a strong player needs to go soon. And Kevin says, well, I mean, look, I think everyone in this game is a strong player. And Josh is like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Come on.
I appreciate it, Kevin, but nah.
Yeah.
Kevin asks what his relationship with Moose is. Josh says it's not great. Kevin says, look, Josh, at this point, I trust you fully. So if you break me, great work. All right. I just think we think similarly. So I'm going to tell you something. You have to keep this to yourself, but Jess knows that you don't trust them that much. And remember, this is the conversation that he had with Jess earlier, where Jess said, I think Josh values me, but I think he values other people more. Kevin is bringing this to Josh, and not in a way to sink Jess, but as a way to say, so, like, I don't think that they would put you up, but I think you should try and show a little love there. I think that if you nurtured that relationship a little more, you could get Jess back on board fully. And Josh is kind of like exasperated a little bit, like, it's just like every room I walk into. And he's like, yeah, I know. But like, I think Jess staying is good for you. I think that you could survive on the block next to them. They're always a bigger target than you. You don't need to like include them in anything, but I do feel like putting in some work there would be valuable.
Oh my God, I signed up to play a social game and now I have to play a game socially. Ugh.
I really like this from Kevin. I feel like there are more subtle ways of doing this that don't potentially like I think Josh is the kind of person that you can say this to, even though he is giving this reaction to Kevin in the moment. I'm sure Josh will be perfectly, capable of, putting on the face he needs to talk to Jess, and making that relationship work. And I think this is super valuable for Kevin. Getting different allies to not be looking at each other sideways is always a good thing. And so we'll see where this goes. But Josh does say to Kevin, like, hey, you're the only person I talk to where it feels like it's on this level. Like, and this, and that does feel true to me, even though Josh has great relationships with a lot of people and he does talk game with people now. The conversations he has with Kevin do feel like they are on a different level strategically in terms of how open he is and how much he is, and like the level of enthusiasm that he has when he's talking to Kevin. And so this does feel like a solid bond here, and this as the house is shaping up into different, factions and directions, I think that the Kevin Josh connection, especially if they do have Helena a little bit and Jess a little bit, and maybe a connection to Betty, and definitely a connection to Summer and Tanisha, if they're not like completely with them. Then you have like the Summer and Tanisha thing with Herman trying to build something over there, and then you've got Gino, Marty, and Jace over on the other side as kind of wild cards. They're kind of somewhat connected to Herman and what he's building, and so you can sort of start to see where the house might go. And Josh even asks Kevin, like, who do you think is going to go next week? And Kevin says, it depends on who wins power. Like, that's going to change everything, and he's very correct.
Yeah, I feel like that blonde lady in the meme with like all the triangles and math equations around her while you were explaining that.
Yeah.
But that's fun. That makes for a good season.
It does. Yes. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Obviously, Kyle is still set to go. I do think that, again, this morning, Jess was kind of annoying people a little bit, but I don't think that would be, I don't think that's going to go nearly far enough to make them keep Kyle over them. So with Kyle leaving, this HOH, very, very important. It will definitely set the tone. I said last week that it would probably take 2 HOHs to like solidify the house into something new. That's still the case because Gino's HOH has not really done any work to solidify anything. It's just kind of like it's getting rid of Kyle. Now it's like, okay, what is the new regime going to be? Whoever wins could potentially set it, and then because it really does, it takes 2 wins. It takes like if Josh won and then Kevin won, they could absolutely reform the house in their image. But at the same time, if it's like Herman wins and then Kevin wins, like it could go back to back and keep the house in flux. So we will see. But is there anything else you wanted to bring up from yesterday, Lita?
Just from casual corner over here. So some people were speculating that Summer was upset because JL and Gino kissed like in front of everybody, which is just like weird and I don't know, don't love it. So the Sino stands have been through like quite a roller coaster of emotion. But we don't know that that's what Summer was upset about. It was a long day. They were hungry, like they'd been on slop. So we don't really know where that stands, but right now it seems like JL and Gino is the showmance, and Tanisha loves it. She's living. The rest of us not so much.
This is great. I need like a Showmances correspondent to update me on what's happening in the Showmances shipping stan fan base. Like what are they upset about?
I mean, listen, there's some Betty and Kevin people coming out of the woodwork now. People love enemies to lovers.
Bevan,
Ketty. So there's lots of activity going on there.
Oh boy. Wow. That's like a whole other, you could make a whole other show on the Showmances fan base.
Oh yeah, at this point Summer has been shipped with every single person. There's sermon people out there, Taran.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. Yeah.
That's a great ship name.
Sermon is a pretty good
Sermon, sorry.
It would be Sermon, but
written.
I think you could get away with Sermon.
Yeah.
Kevin is in a relationship. Oh. And he has told everyone that he's married, even though he's not. Why?
Why did he tell people that?
He just felt like it was just like it would make him even more harmless if he was married.
There's so many cultural things to read into that I'm just gonna let that go for now.
There you go. All right. Well, that's what we have. This is fun.
Yay, Big Brother Canada.
Yes.
The guys are hotter. The girls have more personality. It's just great. So much better than the BBS cast, in my opinion.
Well, I will be live tonight on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching tonight's episode live with all of you, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I will be live watching the Survivor episode at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I will be recording with Melissa about tonight's Big Brother Canada episode. So make sure you check that out. It will be uploaded sometime after the Know-It-Alls, probably. And then on Friday, I will be talking with Shannon about Survivor, doing the stock watch and doing all of the Shannon podcast things as well. It's a crossover episode. And then what else do we have? I've got the Taran show with Tyson, and the one with Peridium is going to be dropping. It might have already dropped for all I know. But I don't think it's dropped yet. I don't see it. But it will probably be out at some point today. If it's not out already, check out the Taran show with Peridium. Find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. And Lita, where can people find you?
I assume the whole Taran show is about how you and I wouldn't have met if it wasn't for Tyson and how he changed your life.
Of course, obviously. The whole thing was about you.
Yeah, essential part of my RHAP origin story. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lita Tweeted. I'm private, but I'll accept you if you don't send screenshots to my boss. I am on Instagram at Lita Tweeted. My dog, who's back there, is on Instagram at SassyCassiePGH. What else is happening? Probably not much. Stan, Lydia, and Hi on Survivor. Happy birthday, Gabby Pascuzzi. I think that's it.
Yeah. You said Stan, Lydia, and Hi, and I was like, who's Stan on Survivor? Oh.
Yeah. That was literally the joke that Mike on Survivor made on Twitter. He was like, who's Stan Mike? My name is just Mike. Which, like, I don't know who's saying Stan Mike. It's not me.
That's like a subtle way of getting like, oh man, who's this Stan person that everyone's saying next to my name? Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.